right, so hello, seniors, and welcome to the Central Bucks Regional Senior Task Force meeting. And we're meeting right here at the Central Bucks Senior Center, and we meet every first Monday of the month at 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., and you're welcome to come out and join us. They also have a great lunch here every day, Monday through Friday, weather permitting, so make sure you stop over and check out their great lunch, and they have a lot of services to offer. So today we've got one of the resources that the center offers in conjunction with the AARP, and we're going to meet Mr. Jerry Harbaugh. So Jerry, good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
And so you're a local gentleman?
Yes, I am.
All right. From whereabouts?
Buckingham now.
Buckingham,
Lived in Doylestown for 13 years, but
okay.
Now Buckingham.
All right, great.
Yes.
But you have the good zip code?
Yes, I guess so. Yeah, it's
18901.
902 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, Jerry, we invited you in because we wanted to get a sense of some of the opportunities that seniors have here locally to get services relating to tax preparation. So, if you don't mind, would you explain what you're doing?
Yes, we have all of our volunteers here. We are all certified by IRS and AARP. We must go to training every year for all the tax law changes and everything. We have a completely computerized system. We do complete returns. We do federal returns, state returns, and the property tax rebate plus local taxes. So we do four things for people. So we do everything that they could need. There are no real limitations. It's quoted that it's low to mid income and catered towards senior citizens. But there's no real restriction on what we can do. We do not do businesses. We would do somebody has a consulting business, little business at home. We can do some of that. We don't get involved with depreciation, property, or anything like that because it's too time consuming and it takes away from our mission to help the senior people. We schedule people through Margarita Quinn's office. She does all the scheduling for us, and it's been going on for about 5 years. And we schedule 5 times a day.
Okay.
And right now, today we have 30 people scheduled to come and do their taxes. A few of them have not come in because of the weather. We will have between 5 and 7 counselors, and we go through the whole process. We organize everything for the people. We now have to check for affordable care if they've had health insurance and all the other things. We do people, a lot of people come in have sold securities. We take care of all that for them, and we can do all that. So we do a full-scale operation. Then we electronically file all the taxes unless somebody wants to mail it in, which is probably less than 5% of the people that want to mail their taxes in. So we electronically file all the taxes, make sure that they're accepted by the federal government and accepted by the state.
Okay.
We go through a company called TaxWise, and they're a commercial company, and it goes through them for their processing and then to the IRS, the state of Pennsylvania. And then we track to make sure that they've been accepted and continue on from that.
Big question, if I may interrupt you, because these are good things that you're telling us. Is there a cost involved?
No.
Okay.
All of our service is free. There's no
Free.
cost.
That's F-R-E-E. That's F-R-E-E. Free.
No cost whatsoever.
Okay.
We had
Nice.
people come in last year saying that some person outside was trying to get them to do their property tax rebate and only charge them $39. But we charge nothing.
Okay.
We can take nothing. We take nothing. If there's any benefit, somebody wants to offer us something, we tell them to give it to the senior center.
Okay.
Because we're forbidden from having a tip jar or anything else.
Okay.
So the only thing we can take is a thanks.
You can give tips though.
As far
Like
as
tax
taxes.
tips.
As far as taxes.
Okay, so
But-
you give, but you don't receive.
Right. We can
Okay.
give tips, but when people ask for advice, on financial matters and everything, we don't.
Okay.
And we are perfectly willing and legal to tell somebody, I'm sorry, we can't do your taxes.
Okay.
And if we have any doubt about the validity of the person, if they have businesses and everything, we can tell them, sorry, go to a professional.
Okay.
So we do have that ability, and we turn away very few people.
Okay.
I would say that 70% of our people are widows, 20% are widowers, and 10% are couples.
Okay.
So that's just my own statistics over the years.
Okay. So you draw from a cross-section of people. And just to back up a second, you mentioned Marguerite Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
So just for everybody that's listening and viewing this program today, Marguerite Quinn,
Right.
is who?
The state representative.
She's the state representative, and she has an office locally here.
Up on 611 near Bucks County Gardens.
Okay,
Across
so in kind of that, just before Plumsteadville area.
Right.
Danborough, they call it, right? And so she takes phone calls, or somebody in her office takes a call and schedules it.
Yes.
Okay.
She does that. That's published through AARP, through local newspapers and everything. And so many of our people are repeat clients that they know that they call her and they will schedule it, provide me with a schedule, who's
Okay.
coming in on a given day.
Okay.
And then we will take, a walk-in now and then.
Okay.
But almost all of them are by appointments. And we have 5 groups a day. We schedule at 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, 1:30, and 2:30. So we do full days, Mondays and Fridays.
Okay. Well, when I first met you, I didn't know that you'd be such a wealth of information. I thought, well, this gentleman has
Well, thank you.
volunteered to come talk to us today about the tax prep, and you've given us a lot of information. I have a couple questions
Okay.
though for you. And we always ask a couple questions. So I always have a tough time understanding standard deductions versus being somebody who itemizes deductions. So what do you tell people very quickly? How would you explain that to people, what the difference is?
We tell people, they bring in all their stack of paperwork, we sort it out and get it in order, and then we will let them know what the standard deduction is, set by the federal government.
So that means, if I may interrupt, so standard deduction means if you make $20,000 a year through Social Security and interest income and things like that, the government sets a standard amount that you can deduct off of that income that you don't have to pay taxes on. Is that it?
Yes, and it's based on whether you are age, if you're over 65.
65.
Or under 65.
Okay.
It depends if you're single or married.
Okay.
And you have dependents, and those numbers all vary based on that criteria.
So if unfortunately somebody passes away, let's say your spouse, and they pass away in June,
Right.
how do you file that year's taxes? Married or single?
You can do it several ways. The preferable way is to continue to file the taxes married, filing jointly,
Okay.
even though one of the spouses has died during the year. So they still get the full benefit
Okay.
of a married filing.
And the following year that would change then?
That would change the following year. Yes, at that time, the surviving person would go back to being a single person, and all the calculations would go through based on that.
Okay.
But the deduction, we try to tell the people, this is your standard deduction, and you sort through all the paperwork, and you say, well, here's your standard deduction, and it's here, and you've got this much. Now, you're better to take that. I would say less than 10% of our people can itemize deductions
Okay.
and be ahead of the standard.
So do you help people understand kind of like the charitable deductions too? There's something like a $5 million lifetime gift exclusion, right? Some people talk about that sometimes, but maybe not.
Don't know about that.
Okay.
I mean, charitable deductions, the people will come in and they'll have a $10 for the fire department and $20 for police department.
Okay.
And unless it amounts to a large amount to get over the standard deduction,
Okay.
they're
So I
not-
guess
they're
most
useless.
people coming into you are not worried about the $5 million lifetime.
We don't hear much of that. We don't hear much about that.
Okay. So just be aware, everybody has a little bit of a different situation, and you will help them understand their
Oh,
situation.
yes, we work through it and try
Okay.
to help them out to come out to their benefit,
Okay.
which is best for them.
So you kind of work in a fiduciary responsibility, which is always working on the client's benefit. And then lastly, let's just talk about what's the number one thing that you would tell somebody that comes to see you that they might normally miss? Like what things do they miss in terms of being prepared or in terms of getting a benefit out of their tax return?
I would say the number one thing is just bringing in all the documents, and people come in and we go through a whole process. They are required to fill out a form which gives all the information. Then we question them
Okay.
on various things. And they will not have a document. And our system is such that if you had something with XYZ Bank last year,
Right.
the information carries from last year, and we question the people.
Okay.
And they say, oh, forgot that one, left at home.
Okay.
Or no, I don't have it.
So maybe a checklist to
Well,
help
it's
remind them, oh, I need to bring the bank that I had last time.
Yeah.
And if you have charitable deductions, you might want to put them like in a file folder.
That's right.
Okay.
Keep it all organized and bring it all in. We tell them to bring everything in. We sort through it. We
Yeah.
take what we need, the rest of it,
Okay.
put on the side.
Well, Jerry, as I said before, you've been a wealth of information. I know you have a limited amount of time to join us today, but I really do appreciate you coming in. Thanks for all that you
Thanks
do.
for having me.
All right, be
very
well.
good. Okay.
Jerry Harbaugh. All right. My next guest, and tell us a little bit about yourself, Mike.
Hi, I'm Mike Bannon. I'm the director of the Bucks County Office of Consumer Protection in Doylestown.
Consumer protection. There's
Consumer
somebody out there
protection.
looking out for us.
That's right. Our office is out there working for the residents of or Bucks County in particular
Okay.
on consumer-related issues on a regular basis.
So, I did a little research, okay?
Uh-oh, okay.
And so a couple of things that I wanted to ask you about. Most people, I think, would end up seeing something called the county seal or the weights
There
and
you go.
measures, right?
Weights and measures, that's
So
correct.
that's what a lot of people think of when they think of consumer protection, right?
That's correct. Great question.
I didn't ask the question yet.
Well, you said that's what people think about if they, right? So I thought there was a question in there.
But the question is,
Uh-huh.
what do they mainly do?
The weights and measures inspectors.
Yes.
I consider us having two separate departments. We have the Consumer Protection Department and the Weights and Measures Department.
Okay.
I have the honors of overseeing both departments.
Yes.
In the Weights and Measures world, it's a very clear-cut world of what we do and how we do that. We are responsible for inspecting devices throughout Bucks County, and we're probably most popular for gas pumps. We inspect gas stations on a
Right.
regular basis,
Right.
scales in supermarkets on a regular basis, oil trucks, home heating oil trucks we inspect. So once a year annually, we will go out to make sure that a weighing and measuring device of any kind is working accurately.
What's the reason that you do that? Why is it protecting the consumer to care about whether the meat scale at the grocery store is accurate? Why does that matter?
Great question, because a variance of just a little bit on that scale, if it was off, a consumer could feasibly get shorted per every transaction. For example, if you go to a supermarket and you buy a pound of ham, but it's
Right.
really measuring 3/4 of a pound of ham, that supermarket in this particular case would be making an undue profit. So
Okay.
we make sure that it's accurate. It really applies or my mind's really to gasoline, a product that we all spend a lot of money on. You never see the product. We go to the pump, and so
hard
you're
to
relying
measure
on
it.
that. You can't measure it, so
Right.
you're relying on us to be able to make sure when you get a gallon of gas, it is a gallon of gas. Now, just a little, we had about a 4% failure rate of gas pumps in Bucks County last year.
Okay.
And half of that time, a failure is technically giving away gas. Half of the time, it's shorting you because it's about pump maintenance. And so when they're shorting you on gas, we tag that pump, we shut it down, and take it out of service.
Right.
When they're giving away gas, we usually just go tell the gas station owner pump number 5 is giving away gas,
Okay.
and they run out and shut pump number 5
Right
down
away.
because they realize
Right.
that's an undue loss for them, is what
Okay.
happens.
It's
So
like-
it works both ways.
Okay. And the same is true with sliced ham.
That's right. For anything, it could.
Okay.
If it's about maintenance, which is different than fraud. If there's fraud involved, we have the ability to take some serious legal action when needed, and we do. So it's usually more about maintaining equipment for the most part. Occasionally, we see fraudulent activity, and in that case, we take legal action if we see it.
Okay. I mean, my grandmother, I was born in New York, right? So
Okay.
my grandmother would go to the grocery store, and she always used to tell me about the butcher putting
Put
his
his
thumb,
finger- right, put
on
his
the
thumb
scale,
on the
right?
scale. It's
Doesn't,
the-
doesn't happen that much anymore, does it?
Well, you got to pay attention to the transaction.
Okay.
Like anything else with consumer protection, you have to pay attention.
Okay.
It doesn't happen that much anymore. Scales are very accurate. Technology has brought us to a new world. However, with that technology comes a downside of fraud that can happen. We know through a quick computer adjustment, you can short that gallon of gas at
Okay.
the gas pump. So
Okay.
we have to check for it on a regular basis. And we ask folks, when we do an inspection, you'll see a sticker on everything that we inspect
Right.
with the year and the month we inspected it, but most importantly, our phone number. So if you think something has gone wrong, you can call our office and we go back out for re-inspections on a regular basis from calls from residents.
How many calls, however you want to judge it, a year, a month, a week, what's your judgment, and how many calls do you get?
Do we probably, well, on just the weights and measures side of things?
Even.
Oh, we get thousands of calls.
Thousands?
Yes.
For what?
Per year. Per year, we get thousands of calls that come through on consumer-related issues and weights and measures-related issues.
So people actually say, hey, I think that pump is not working right.
Oh, we get a lot of calls of that, sure. We also get calls about quality of gas, which we also inspect for water and octane. So we get lots of calls about that. But we also have, we have the consumer protection end of things, where we have consumer investigators that take complaints against businesses on a regular basis. Now, what a lot of people may not know is in Bucks County, we have a database history of complaints against businesses. So in a perfect world, for me, if it was a perfect world, and somebody was going to hire a home improvement contractor, this is what I would like to see happen, and then we'll go from there. They call our office. We can mail. We have brochures on all sorts of things. We would mail how to hire a home improvement contractor, which would get you in the right frame of mind, the information you need to know to hire somebody. You pick 3 contractors. Then you call us and ask if we have complaints against that contractor. We'll look up in our database and say, oh, we have complaints. We have 5 complaints in the last year against that company. Or we might be able to say they're a great company. We have no complaints on file.
So is it public data?
It's public data, yes.
So can anybody look it up? I mean, some of our viewers,
they have to call
you
us.
know where I'm going?
I know where you're going. Go ahead.
Okay.
You're asking if we can look it up online, right? No?
That's a good question.
Okay, I was there first. So, no, because we feel like it needs an explanation. For example, if somebody went in and took a look at, let's say, a major car dealer and saw we did take complaints against a car dealer, which we do on a regular basis, it may not mean that that car dealer has really done something bad. We feel like we can explain it and say, 3 complaints against a major car dealer and they've been resolved is not that big a deal.
Okay.
There's some fear that if people just looked it up and they saw the complaint, they'd go, oh no, bad company.
Understood.
So we need to explain that a little bit, so we do it personally.
Do you interface with the Better Business Bureau in any way?
We do.
Is that part of the interface?
We do on a yes. If somebody was to call us, we check a number of things. The Better Business Bureau we work with on a regular basis. Now that's a paid for membership organization, which is different than us, but we utilize that as a tool. We might look up in the civil database, meaning for a business that has civil complaints, we would look at that.
What's civil mean?
It's a non-criminal. I'm not an attorney,
non-murder,
right. It's not a criminal offense. It's a contractual dispute, and that's what we deal with a lot.
Well, that's
not
important.
an attorney, so I
know, but
say,
what our viewers, these are words that I always ask myself. What civil suit? What do you mean by that? So so it's basically kind of a non, not a robbery, not a murder. It's not a crime like that.
It's not a crime. It's a dispute between the contracts. It was you've hired somebody to do something that didn't do it or sold you something, and it's not what it was supposed to be. Not necessarily criminal. We just have to weed our way through it. Now, in many cases, if we have repeated complaints against the business, it does roll into that criminal part of things. And then I may if I saw enough complaints against a business and it seemed to violate I bring it to the district attorney's office for possible prosecution or the attorney general's office for possible prosecution.
Well, now we're kind of, tiptoeing into the area of fraud.
Yes, that's right, which is a big deal. We do that too. We try to do that. We try to educate consumers as best we can on ways to not be victimized by fraud. And what I'd have to say, and I'm going to guess a lot of the listeners out there might agree, the telephone call fraud is way out of control in the past couple of years. People are getting what they think are telemarketer calls that really aren't. They're really scam artist criminals at the other end. I would tell folks to sign up for the Pennsylvania Do Not Call list, and so which I have information we
Okay.
can send out. But if you're signed up for the Pennsylvania Do Not Call list and you're still getting solicited by phone calls, I'm highly suspicious that the company's legitimate to start off with. We get
Okay.
tons of those complaints every year.
So just to be clear for everybody, the do not call list is a kind of a master list of phone numbers
That's right.
that the government has helped set up and establish, I guess
Right.
through Direct Marketing Association or somebody.
That's correct. And each consumer has to put in their own phone number.
So they put a phone number, they have to go on the web or they can call it in.
They can call it in on the web. We have information
Okay.
in our booklet for anybody
somebody-
that wants it.
Somebody can pick up the phone and say, I don't want to be called
Right.
with telephone, sales, marketing, whatever calls.
Correct.
And then they'll put that number in,
Mm-hmm.
and then the companies that do it legitimately, they have access to that list.
That's right.
And they scrub
Right.
that list that they're calling so that they don't accidentally call people that don't want to be called. Is that how it works?
Well said. Well explained. Yes.
So no, that's important. I also noticed, and some of our viewers may have fireplaces.
Mm-hmm.
You regulate firewood sales?
Oh, in the weights and measures end of things. Okay, I didn't know where we were going
Okay,
with
like
that.
firewood?
Sure, firewood is sold by the cord. We get lots of complaints this time of year from people that are selling firewood and shorting the consumers on the cord of wood. So yes,
Okay.
we do. We get quite a few calls during the winter time
Huh.
and firewood season. So we will go out if somebody thinks that they've been shorted. We will go out and measure that cord of wood and give that either give that documentation or contact the business and say these guys apparently were shorted on their firewood delivery.
And some of that, is just a little stack by the side of the road for like $10. You don't regulate that.
No, we don't regulate that
Okay.
at all. It's only the cords that come in when
Okay.
when you get a cord delivered. It's a lot of money, and people want to get what they paid for.
Hundreds of dollars.
Right, absolutely.
And how about LP gas or gas for like barbecues and things like that?
We do propane, what we call propane scales. We regulate that too. Anything that's sold by weights and measures. And believe it or not, we even inspect parking meters in the borough of Doylestown on a regular basis.
Oh, I like that.
To make sure that when you put, and they actually, people joke with me about that, but you need to make sure when you put your money in, you're getting the accurate time. And if it's not inspected on a regular basis,
Yes.
it's actually non-valid. The ticket you
Okay.
can't enforce, so it has to be inspected within the time frame. I think everyone in Bucks County is inspected, but if you're out of Bucks County and get a ticket, you might think about that.
Oh, interesting.
It's a little consumer tip for everybody
Well,
out there.
I have another consumer. I have another consumer tip.
Yes, okay.
I mean, they're probably going to find me in contempt or something. But do you know that
A
if
guy
you
in
put,
Bucks County.
if you put 2 dimes in the Doylestown meter, you get an hour.
I did
Or
not
if you,
know
or
that.
if you put a quarter in, you get an hour.
Oh, I didn't know
So
that.
there's
You
a
save
great
a nickel
return on investment.
A nickel on every.
Just by carrying dimes instead of quarters.
There you go. That
And
makes sense.
I always find coins right around the meters. too.
Right, yeah. So down there at the right, in the little weeds in there.
Well, so I actually printed off from the internet a booklet that is scams, cons, and flim-flams.
That's right.
What's a flim-flam?
It's all about the same ripoff. A
Okay.
trickery, I guess. So trickery.
Sounds like it came from the Music Man.
Right, there you go. The Flim Flam song.
Okay, excellent. So
Well,
go ahead.
I'm glad you pulled this because this
Yeah.
booklet, we try to
nice.
take more recent scams that are affecting senior citizens in
Okay.
our area and kind of explain it to the best of our ability because many times we get calls from family members or seniors themselves that are concerned about they've gotten this phone call, they're not sure if it's real or not. They can call us, but they can also call us and we will mail this booklet out to them. We will mail this booklet out to
Okay.
them so they have the information before it comes in.
So this is a nice, easy booklet to read through.
Yes.
But you can also download it if
That's
you
right.
have access to the internet or somebody that you has access to the internet. You can download it. It's a lot more paper this way.
That's right.
That's
so
kind
whatever
of a-
you'd like to
that's
do.
a scam.
That's a
paper
scam. And
scam.
it's, there's a whole ink scam that goes on
Well,
too
do you
about that.
know
So
that you can save a lot of money by changing the typeface that you print things in?
I have seen that before.
Okay.
Yes. So I do know that. We've done that as a matter of fact. That's a good tip. I like that.
Good tip.
You're a good consumer.
So let's just think about this, though. So I'm going to ask a few questions out of the book.
Yes,
if you
please.
don't mind. It's kind of like first of all, what's the phone number that people would call to reach your department?
The best number is 215
Hold on. 215.
348
348
6060.
6060.
Correct.
Okay,
Simple enough.
very good. So
people can call us.
215.
340. Wait. Okay. 215-348-6060. Yes, sorry.
6060.
Yes.
Okay,
348.
6060.
That's right.
6060.
Right.
Great. Okay.
Or they could also Google Bucks County Consumer or do an internet search, and you would get all these brochures right offline, like you're saying, if you go to our website.
Okay. Good stuff. Good stuff. But then you don't have to print them out. They'll send them to you. And that's our
Right.
tax dollars at work, right?
That's right. That worked for you there.
Good, good. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about this. So
Okay.
you said you had some contractor fraud.
Yes.
So explain that. What would be the most typical type of contractor fraud that you would find people calling you or contacting you about?
Well, it's quite common for people that have contracted with a company that may not be a real legitimate contractor company. They need to be registered with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, have insurance. Many times people may show up to, let's say, for example, tar your driveway is a common one. In the springtime, we know a
Right.
lot of scam artists show up. They knock on your door and say, gee, it looks like your driveway needs to be resurfaced. I'm working down the road here. We can do this for you for really cheap. Give me $1,000 and we'll be down here. They give him $1,000 and they either come back and put some kind of oil-based something on their driveway, or they never come back at all.
So when somebody's knocking at your door, I mean, that's a sign in and of itself, right?
Yes, I agree. I would say you should initiate any kind of home improvement contract. If somebody's knocking on your door, you need to be cautious.
Okay. They should be calling from their cell phone in the car.
They should be calling for. That's right. They should be. There you go. So right. From
All right.
outside, call it up to us up there. It takes me a minute to catch
I was
on.
a door-to-door salesperson for many years.
You are?
Yes.
Really?
So
Like Fuller Brush or
yes.
something? Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So I have a deep respect for door-to-door.
Right,
In fact,
okay.
there's a great movie, Door-to-Door, that's out there if you haven't seen it.
Fair enough. I haven't seen
Okay.
it, but fair enough.
Really
if that's
good.
the case.
Really good. So check that out. But yeah, so I mean, so door knocking, is not negative in and of itself.
No.
But if you're door knocking in an area where you shouldn't be by law, sometimes it's prohibited, right?
Yeah, no, it's not. Yes, a lot of times you have to register with the local
So
municipality,
that's
get
a
a
good
solicitor's
thing. And get
license to
like
do.
a license to show.
Absolutely, I wouldn't do any business unless you made sure they had the solicitor's
Okay.
license from their local municipality, and if they're doing home improvement contractor work, that they're registered with the Commonwealth.
Okay. Let's look at a couple other things here.
Okay.
So reverse mortgages. Do you
Yes.
get involved in reverse mortgages?
We've worked with a lot of senior citizens. We have resources for the most part. We work with the Legal Aid of Southeast Pennsylvania and a few housing
Legal
councils.
Aid.
Legal.
What is legal aid?
It's an organization that helps folks in low to moderate income that can represent them in legal matters.
For free?
I think it depends on their income. There may be,
Okay.
it's a sliding scale. I can't speak for them. But in some cases, I think if your income is correct, it would be free.
Okay.
But we also work with many housing agencies to, what I would suggest if somebody came to me with a reverse mortgage problem, they're
Right.
already in it, I would send them to one of the nonprofit certified housing counselors to take a look at their situation to see how they got there. Sometimes we've been able to reverse them. Sometimes we have not.
Right.
But it needs to be analyzed by a professional housing certified person.
Okay. So a question for you. Predatory lending.
Yes.
What does the word predatory mean?
The definition of predatory.
I mean, I'm reading this, but I don't know.
Well, it's basically there's organizations that lend money at a super high interest rate or to
Okay.
people that are at a very high risk, and they send them almost knowing that they're going to default out of it, and then
Okay.
they're going to somehow take whatever they've put down as collateral or hit them with some very high fees is what happens.
So it's kind of the animal world predator.
That's right, predator, like
Being
the
a
animal.
predator.
They're looking for
Taking
people that
advantage
don't
of
understand,
somebody.
right? That don't understand the
Right.
situation.
Eat their meal.
That's
Or eat
right.
their
So
lunch.
that's right. Eat their lunch is what they
Okay.
do. They take advantage of them, and they may not know it. Some people, if you're denied for a car loan because your credit rating is bad, it might come into play at that
Okay.
point.
Okay. Good stuff. Good stuff. Let's just talk about, and we just had a tax prep person
Yes,
earlier.
he was very good. Good
Excellent,
guy,
right?
yeah, Jerry. Yeah,
Whoa.
did a good job.
He's just, I didn't know if I could stop him.
Yeah,
I mean, he was so
right.
good.
He had lots of information.
He was on fire. Now the question though is financial planning.
Yes.
So a lot of times, our constituents, right? Our senior task force is all about seniors.
Yes.
So they're usually in kind of the retirement mode, but not always, right?
That's
A lot
right,
of
not
times-
always, right.
I mean, I'm retired, but I also work in a way.
Sure.
I volunteer, and I think we have a lot all
I suspect so.
We're all,
Happy
this
over
room
here.
is filled with volunteers.
There you go. That's great.
But when it comes to financial planning and investments, how the heck do you get involved in that?
Well, anything that's consumer related, and many times we get involved in maybe people that have done unscrupulous investing to senior citizens that have sold them products that maybe is not right for them, but they get a big commission off of it, like long-term annuities or something like that. So we take a look at it, and in that particular case, if it was financial, again, we'd work with the appropriate agency if there was criminal action to be taken.
Right.
But also, we have that database history of information that we may have complaints against that person
yes.
or business, so it's something that we monitor. And if that business, that financial planner, starts rising on our radar with an unusual amount of complaints, we try to round him up and get him to the appropriate agency.
So one of the things that comes into our field of view when we're dealing with finance and we're dealing with older adults in
Yes.
particular, but it could be anybody. There are times when people have dementia.
Yes.
Right. So they could make decisions or they could sign paperwork, and they seem kind of, all together, at the time, but maybe they're not making the right kind of judgments,
Right.
or et cetera. Is there any way to roll back that stuff? Do you get involved? Do you get those
We
calls
have.
from like
It's
the
been
son, the daughter,
Yes.
the husband, the wife?
Yes, we have. We've gotten lots of different phone calls over time, and each case is different. I mean, sometimes people are in the very early stages of dementia. Nobody's really aware of it yet in the family, and they might get into a contract and sign something that is probably less than desirable. I'm afraid in that case, though, it would be different. We may negotiate with the business to say that person didn't understand. They would have a legal right in that case, from what I'm describing, to hang on to the money to be able to do that. But there's organizations that can help. We think we've met on the Bucks County Crimes Against Elders Taskforce. That might be some place that I would bring this kind of complaint to.
Let me ask you about that. We may have somebody talk to that separately.
Yes.
But in one sentence, what do they do?
The Bucks County Crimes Against Elders Task Force, it's a group of different organizations that have senior citizen interests and ability to kind of reach into, for example, the Register of Wills is on there, along with the Consumer Protection Department, the Area Agency on Aging, and NOVA. There's a different organizations that if we all see any kind of problem, we can go to our contact in that field, the DA. If it's a consumer-related thing, they may come to me.
So you can actually, when somebody comes to your office, you may not be able to handle it, but you connect to somebody else in the DA's office, or if it's a physical abuse,
Right.
you might go to NOVA or somebody else or whoever that might be.
Great example. If it's physical abuse, it wouldn't be a consumer protection issue, but I'd get it to the investigators right away, because that would need to be investigated by the people that are trained in that.
Right.
So that's a great example. Physical abuse is one of them. And I've seen some of those physical, they're just horrendous when it happens. My expertise is consumer protection, but that's shocking to me when something terrible like that happens.
No good. No good. So just know that there's help out there. And Mike and his team are here to help. We're not done yet. We have we have a few more questions.
Bring it on. I'm ready.
So just stay with us, because we're going to talk about international lottery scams. Now, I've gotten I do get email, and I get a lot of email, and I get these things, Mr. Tumbuco, has a grandson who's over here and needs help, or I guess I've not ever gotten a lottery scam.
Right.
But those types of internet scams also fall under your kind of area of concern?
Sure, absolutely. So, as a matter of fact, I'm glad you brought that point up. We deal many times with victims of fraud. I mean, it's fraudulent activity that these folks are doing, whether they're trying to trick you into thinking that you've got a bunch of money from a long-lost relative that's going to send it to you. They want you to send, ultimately, in that scam, they would ask you, well, send the tax money to us, send us a check for $4,000. So, at some point, they're going to be asking for money in that particular scam. We've been bombarded, and a lot of people out there on the IRS phone call scam, where people are getting phone calls at their house saying you owe money to the IRS, and it's been a big one. I've never seen so many people call on one particular scam. I'm happy to say, and this in my world's a big deal, for the first time ever, the Federal Trade Commission just last week extradited somebody from Jamaica that was making those phone calls, and what they have is a spoofing device that tricks caller ID, and they make it say it's the IRS or whatever the Internal Revenue
shows
Service.
up in the caller ID of the phone.
The
as
phone.
say IRS.
Right. So you see that, everybody's nervous right away.
Right.
Why are they calling me? And then they say, listen, you owe us money. Now, this scam has worked. It really has.
Yeah.
A lot of people have sent money because they might be scared they owe the IRS money.
You know what IRS could stand for in that case?
What's that?
I rip off seniors.
There you go. You're rolling.
Whoa!
So there you. We
Yeah.
gotta coin that
Yeah,
or something. I'm gonna use that. I want to use that one. So.
Well, let's think about this though. So if somebody's from Jamaica or another country, because it happens, unfortunately, there's people calling it from outside the country, but there's also people with inside the country.
Yes, there's
the
people.
United States. There's good people and bad people everywhere.
Everywhere, that's true. But a lot of the calls that are coming more recently are international. So yes, it does happen here.
And so the long arm of the law from Bucks County can reach out to those people.
To Jamaica. Well, we try to. I'll tell you what. I have to be honest with you. This is the first I've ever seen anyone extradited from another country based on this scam. It's a big deal in my world.
Okay.
But we have been involved in cases in Texas, in Montana, for other places that's happened. As a matter of fact, a lot of people were getting flat out fraudulent phone calls saying we can lower your interest rate. We were all getting phone calls saying we can lower on your cell phone, your home phone.
Right.
That was a flat out scam. They were criminals in Montana in a basement someplace, drinking beer and smoking cigarettes and making phone calls to people's houses. They busted those guys eventually.
So it's tough. I mean, if I'm in my home and I don't get out a lot,
Right.
sometimes just having a phone call is kind of nice. You know,
Yes, I
I get to
understand
talk
that.
with somebody that I
can
don't normally
understand
talk
that.
with people.
You know, I understand how it would be nice to get those phone calls, but I'm afraid in today's society, I really got to warn against that because there's lists, and you can buy them on the internet. They're talker lists, and they collect they just call people. They collect information. They say, "Oh, you know, my name's Michael. I have a son in California," and they write Michael Bannon, son, California, and then I say, "Well, I was born in."
They develop kind of a background on the person.
That's right. And then they sell it. Then they call back again and say, "Oh, how's your son in California?" And they get their way in. My strong advice is not to take any of those phone calls. And I know that's the case. There are some places that you can get daily phone calls from nice people that can talk to you. You should set up that way. You shouldn't take any cold phone calls anymore. Those days are over.
Just say pleasantly, no thank you.
That's what I say once. I say, "Listen, I'm going to cut this call short. I'm going to hang
Right.
up." If they push it, I say, "I'm sorry. I'm going to hang up."
Right.
Boom. And I hang up the phone call.
Okay.
If I
You don't
answer it at
whistle
all.
or anything in your ear?
No, I don't, because you know what? I've seen people that have taunted the bad guys, and that can make it worse sometimes.
we
They
don't
just
want
can.
that. We don't
Right.
want that. Okay.
Then they call back over and over again, and then they really start going after you.
So I guess for our viewers, one of the main takeaways, and one of the things that we want to think about is don't send anybody money to get money.
Yeah, that makes a lot
I mean,
of sense.
that's basic.
Yeah, that's
don't write a
basic.
check out. Don't give a credit card.
Right.
If they say, send me money or give me money.
It's an alarm.
And I will give you more money.
That's right.
I mean, there's no free lunch.
Yes.
And if it's too good to be true.
It probably is.
Okay.
I mean, my advice is as soon as they ask you to open up your wallet or your purse, that's time to stop and take a think about this and
Yes.
say, is this all legitimate? Is this correct? No matter where you are, whether you're at your
Right.
car repair shop or if you're on the telephone, think about, is this what I want to do?
Okay.
Because they were all after your money.
Good stuff.
Very good.
Good stuff. I mean, there's legit people out there.
There is. That's
So we just have
absolutely.
to,
Lots
you
of
know.
great businesses
Right.
out there, and we're all about the right business
Right.
getting forward. I say my job is to make sure that businesses play by the rules that are out there. It's fair to all businesses. I try not to do one business over
Right.
the other. It's about being fair and
You're
applying
not
the rules.
biased.
I don't think so. So
The phone number again is 215-348.
6060. There you go.
Beautiful.
Great.
Maybe you could make it 65-65 next time.
There you go. All right. So people remember
Okay,
that.
good.
So
All right. Let's take a few more minutes and then, I'm going to thank you. But
Great.
let's just talk about caregiver caregivers.
Right, sure,
Right.
yeah.
So obviously, people who are viewing might have people coming to the house to help them
Right.
with what they call activities of daily living.
Sure, right.
Cooking, cleaning, dressing, and doing things like that. And they can be people they know.
Yes.
They can be hired staff from an agency, or they could be people that are referred to them through a friend.
That's right.
But where does the caregiver fraud come involved? When do you see fraud happening with a caregiver?
Well, unfortunately, over time, we've seen a number of different cases where the caregiver has stepped across the line of caregiving and maybe gotten into the world of taking money from that person, missing items from their jewelry box, right, from their jewelry box. So over time, that can happen. It's really important that you vet your home care person. You can do that through the Area Agency on Aging. I think the Department of Welfare has a list of banned caretakers that actually have been banned by the courts that you can check to see if somebody's been banned on that. But you can also call our office to see if we have any complaints against that company.
So, one of the things that I think is hard for somebody who is needing a caregiver
Yes.
is to go through all that work.
It is, that's right.
I mean, that's a lot of effort, right?
It is.
And sometimes you just don't cross the T or dot the I right, and all of a sudden you've got a problem.
Right.
So, contacting you is a good first step.
I think so. I think we're pretty well versed on multi-subjects and know where to go. So we sometimes stretch outside that consumer protection field, but we know where people are at, how systems work, and where I think that's really what we're good at. So if we can't help you, we probably can find the organization that can help you. Always a good place just to call to bounce something off of us is fine.
How many people do you have to take calls?
Good question. We're down to, we have a staff of one and myself right now.
What?
So
No, that's not true.
Well, that is
One and yourself?
Well, there's one consumer investigator, myself. I'm sorry, and there's 3 weights and measures inspectors to do all
but to take
weights
phone calls?
Yes, well, it's a difficult time lately, but we're doing okay.
So
we get
let's
back
talk to your local whomevers.
That's right. So there you go.
And
So
make sure that changes. Well, it's
There
been
you
a
go.
pleasure.
Been a pleasure.
All
Thank
right.
you so much for
Thanks.
having me.
All
This
right,
is great. So thank you.
He's got his brochures here, but we would just like to thank Mike Bannon from the Bucks County Consumer Protection Agency, right?
That's right.
And so until next time, we'll see you there, right here.
Thank you.
All right, good.
Good.
Final question for you.
Yes.
There was a scam where they were putting monitors into the Wawa. Yes.
Skimming devices, right?
And your credit card was red,
Mm-hmm.
and then they used the information to clean out your account.
Yes.
What is the status of that now? Has that been brought to a closure, or is it still a problem?
It's still a problem. You can still buy the skimming device. As a matter of fact, I think I just heard that one in Horsham was just found. So it still continues to be a problem of technology, these skimmer devices. What's really scary is they found a way to get the skimmer devices inside the gas pump instead of outside. Before we used to say, look for anything unusual, but more recently they've gotten past that lock into the pump and put it so you wouldn't even see it. So it is a problem, and you need to be aware of
And
it.
it's not just gas pumps, it's
Any
readers on
ATM
cash
or-
machines, etc., and it's an international problem.
That is exactly
Different
correct.
devices that have been superimposed on the slot, and you think it's part of the machine or so, while you're feeding in, you think it's reading your card.
But
You're exactly correct.
and in case we're still being recorded, I think it's important, though, for our viewers to know that, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do things. Like you shouldn't, not use an ATM, or you should not get gas with your credit card. The reality is that these things are out there.
Right.
They're kind of few and far between, and if they happen to you, there are consumer protections built in somewhat.
That's right. We don't want to be alarmist in this
Right.
situation, because if you're a victim of credit card theft, you have some protections on that from that credit card company. So I don't want to see people laying awake at night worried very much
Like I
about
can't
what we're
use
talking.
my credit card at the ATM. Or
That's
I
right.
can't,
So I can't. Right. I can't start doing that. So. But you want to be aware of what's around. You want to be educated, but not alarmist, and that's always something we balance out in my world. I I do say limit using your debit card, though, not your credit portion, but your debit card to basically your money machine. If you're going to debit card, use your bank's ATM machine. I wouldn't recommend using your debit card at, let's say, a supermarket. You can use the credit card portion of that card if it makes sense. But if you have to punch in your PIN number, that's what's alarming, because then they get access to your bank account with the cash in it, which is much different than access to your credit card.
Well, okay, and we'll leave it there for now.
Okay,
But we're going to have a security expert next time.
You had mentioned about you do the weights and measures at the meat counter, the fish counter,
Yes.
and everything else. Do you check out the scales and the checkout counters? Because they
We
seem
do.
to take. Okay.
Yes, we
'Cause
do
I
in
never
there.
saw the marker on this. It could be on the other side where the cash.
It is on the other side, so we do check out. That's the main one to check out, is at the checkout counter. The ones in like the fruit department, they have estimate scales in there that we put a sticker on saying it's estimate, but we do check that out.
Mike, with the security devices, or the fraudulent devices.
Yes.
If you have credit cards with what's known as the European model of security.
The RDIF, right? RDIF.
Then would those devices work with that credit card? Those fraudulent devices?
I think they might, because it's reading the information on there, so I don't think it would protect you from the skimmer device. I don't know if I'm technically correct. Maybe this gentleman would know. I don't think it would protect you, but it would protect you from other kind of credit card fraud that happened. But I think you'd still be victimized by a skimmer.
We've been ripped off several times internationally,
Right.
at gas stations and at cash machines,
Right.
including directly at the bank.
Yeah,
Stay home.
happens everywhere.
Cash only at the gas station?
What's that?
Cash only at the gas station?
No, I'll use the credit portion. I don't. I use my credit part. I never use the debit card. I'll use my credit portion of it, but not the PIN number there.
But they love your cash.
Yeah, they love cash, right? They would love it.
What can you tell us about the chips they're putting in credit cards?
I think it's the way of the future, and I think that's what you're asking. I think by October of this year, most all credit cards are going to have the RFID. I always get that mixed up. Card that I really think is the next phase. We should have been there a long time ago, but it's the next phase in protection, which basically scrambles each transaction information, so it's harder to pick up from other ways. It's like a scrambling device.
One point to add,
Yes.
maybe also for you, since we've been made use of, it's best if you do travel international to call your bank ahead of time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Give them notice that you're going out of town, you're going to be at this city or this and this country for that approximately that period, etc. So if something does come in, they immediately call it. And of course, I had a thing locked down also because of some, scam.
Somebody did that.
Yeah. So.
I'd even go one step further and say if you're traveling in the United States, that comes. I had somebody that was in
Yeah.
California that got frozen the other day, and they were very upset at their credit card company, but I understand why it happened.
And therefore, travel with 2 credit cards.
There you go. Right, like plan B. Yes.
You had mentioned earlier about they send you on some of the scams, they'll send you a cashier's check, and then they want you to send $400 back. Let's say
Right.
they send you $10,000. Please send us $400 to cover processing. Why does it take up to 3 weeks for the banks to tell you that cashier check is no good?
Boy, I'd have to ask a banker that question. I don't know the answer to
Okay.
that. I know that they could certainly cash it pretty when it's the other way around, it's really fast. But it does take them up to 3 weeks to confirm that it's a fraudulent check. So I don't have the technical answer to. I wish there was something I could say that would make that go faster.
Well, we're going to have you back.
Okay, sounds
Next
great.
year.
Yeah, okay, next year. There you
Because
go.
you got so much good stuff.
There you go. Well, you keep on going.